All right, Abdul Carter, who is a nifty 6'3", 259. So he's only 30 pounds heavier than Harold Perkins, Rick. I don't know why you would have any questions about who you draft him first. He's also a third-year junior. Mike talked about him last week as an edge rusher because that's where he's moving. But I went and watched. I watched primarily a lot of his snaps off the edge, but he lines up everywhere. Obviously, off ball, he played over the center at times. He stood up in the B gap and rushed from there. He's going to be 5'7", 9 going forward, I would guess. Again, he's incredibly explosive. He's twitched up. He moves well laterally, comes downhill, and he can thump you because he is that 260-ish pounds. Lined up all over the place, even though he's listed as an off-ball. I looked it up. He played 90 snaps at outside linebacker and had 7 pressures, including one rep against Delmar Glaze, the Maryland right tackle, who ended up going to the Raiders in the 3rd round, was a big boy speed rush, and that sort of gives you the sense, Rick, that he's going to be okay moving from the middle-ish of the field to out wide. Rick?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, I tried to lead you in there with the Rick.
Attention to what you were saying.
I know. I should have said Richard to get your attention. You're up, Rick. What do you think of Abdul?
Yeah, really loved his versatility. For a big man, this guy moves very athletic. A little bit inconsistent using his hands like all these linebackers are in the run game. But I thought when he drops in coverage for almost 260 pounds, he looks fluid as heck. He needs to be more aware of routes developing behind him. At times, he drops too shallow. But when they bring him on blitzes, you see him through the A gap, off the edge. He's a mismatch versus linebackers. Reminded me a little bit of how we try to create mismatches with Anthony Barr on running backs because they just can't match up with him. And he has speed to bend the edge. He's a little bit raw with his technique, but I can see how defensive coordinators are going to be salivating on how they can utilize him at multiple positions on the defensive side of the ball. Really like this kid.
I should mention, and I was in such a hurry to get to the comps with Harold Perkins Jr. Mike, where do you think he goes round-wise? Rick said second-ish right now.
For Perkins?
Yeah.
I have a second right now. I don't think he's quite now. Absolutely, it's more like if he can develop into the body type, then
okay.
First round.
I just want to get that on record. I said late first, so we're around the same range. All right, Mike, you talked about Abdul Carter last week, but if you want to touch on him again, I'm all for that too. But let me ask you this right now: if you're drafting one player out of Penn State, and this is the list of guys, who you taking? Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac, last year's edge rushers out of Penn State, or Abdul Carter?
That one's tough because I did like Chop Robinson. I think Abdul Carter is a more fluid athlete than Chop Robinson. Chop was a little rigid in his movements, even though he was really twitchy. It's tough because I think Chop was probably the better pass rusher like last year, but I think Abdul Carter has maybe a little more projectable tool. So give me Abdul Carter. I say he probably ends up going higher in the draft when it's all said and done.
Who are you taking, Rick?
Oh, no question, Abdul Carter, because he can do more things than Chop Robinson. So, I mean, you don't see Chop Robinson lining up at different positions doing the same thing Abdul Carter did. So,
but he does one thing very well.
Who, Chop?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he rushed the passer very well. But like I said, with the way NFL defenses have evolved, the way the NFL offenses has evolved, the more you have in your toolbox, and this kid has a lot in his toolbox on how defensive coordinators are going to see to utilize this kid in many multiple positions. I would take Abdul Carter in a heartbeat.
Okay. All right, fair enough. You and Mike have been wrong twice now, but that's okay. We're all about getting smarter.
I do think I will say with like the Mike McDonald sort of way of coaching, like spreading throughout the NFL, that's probably like the next wave of DCs kind of going throughout the NFL, and their emphasis on how multiple their fronts are, guys lining up in every single like alignment throughout the front. You probably want a guy more like Abdul Carter than a guy like Chop Robinson now. So it's just going to be more coveted nowadays.
Yeah, you probably agree with that, Rick.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you spent some time with Mike. I was trying to give you an opportunity to weigh in there, but You do you, as the kids say. All right. What do you got, Rick, in terms of draft range and comp for Abdul Carter?
I think he's going to end up as a top 15 pick.
Okay.
And this is a little bit of projection. But if they do put him at the edge, I think he is going to be Dallas Turner.
And Dallas weighed a little less, I think, but Dallas set the world on fire at the combine.
Yep. I think this. I put a Dallas Turner comp on him.
And Dallas certainly doesn't play like he's 240-ish or whatever you end up weighing at. All right. I like that.
Yay.
Mike, give me a draft range, and then I'll play the game with Rick.
Yeah, Adam is first rounder.
Okay. Yeah, I had bottom half of the first, 15 to 32 or whatever. We'll see what happens. He can certainly improve on that. All right, Rick, you're 1-0. Great start to the final summer scouting podcast. We'll see if you can. Don't let the pressure get to you, okay?
I'm not. Now that I know that Mike put some effort into it this week.
Well, this is his comp from last week for Abdul. I don't think we talked about it on the show. If we did, you got a little hint here. Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Match the comp with the person. Boya Mafe, Baron Browning.
Well, we didn't talk about Baron Browning last week, so I'm going to go with Mafe.
Who said Mafe?
I'm going to say Ryan Wilson said Mafe.
Jesus, you're 2-0. How infuriating. Not even the Ohio State thing threw you. You must have studied up, Rick. All right, well done.
No, it's just that it was a stupid comp. I shouldn't say stupid. Stupid's a bad word. It wasn't a very good comp.
What's wrong with the comp? He weighed 265.
Mafe was a lot stiffer, not as fluid as Abdul Carter is.
Okay. Abdul Carter's got 500 reps from outside. See what you made me do, Rick? You made me get angry.
I'm just saying, that makes sense to me, but
that's all right. It doesn't have to.